Welcome to this week's episode of Newt's Excel Tips. In this episode, we're going to be talking about formulas in just the most basic sense. And when I mention formulas, something to keep in mind is that not only is Excel a great way to organize data and to put a lot of information in one place, but it's also a great way to calculate information. Excel is essentially just a huge calculator waiting to be used. So let's explore that a little bit. So I'm going to open up this new worksheet called Formulas. And here I've already input some data. I had 8 plants and I have all of their heights recorded. Now all I simply did was just typed in these numbers. But if I wanted to calculate something, all you need to do in Excel is to simply insert an equal sign. The moment you put in an equal sign at the beginning of a cell, this is telling Excel that you want it to do something, that you want it to act, that you want it to calculate or do some sort of action with data or with text. And so by having this equal sign, you have opened up a whole new world of possibilities in Excel. No equal sign, then all you're doing is just typing. So let me do an example. If I just wrote simply without the equal sign 2 plus 2, Excel's like, cool, you wanted to write 2 plus 2 in that cell. If I wanted to do 4 minus 1, cool. Well, it changed it to a date. So let me do 4 divided by 1. Oh, it's still doing it, sorry. So one of the nice things about Excel is it does convert dates for you if that's something you want. In this case, I don't want it. In a future episode, we'll talk about how you can change that. So let's do 13 divided by 3. So right now, Excel is thinking, oh, this is the text you want, but it's not reading it as a formula. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start with an equal sign. I'm going to tell Excel, hey, I want you to calculate. I want you to do something for me. So I have equals and then 2 plus 2. And Excel's like, oh, I can do that for you. I can calculate that for you. It's 4. Now, if I click on that cell again, the cell that says 4, although here it says 4, if I look in the formula bar, you can see here's where I had typed equals 2 plus 2. And in this formula bar, I can change it. I can say, well, let's do 2 plus 3 instead. So though, again, it reads as 5, in the formula bar, it actually tells you what is in that cell. 5 isn't in that cell. This formula is in that cell. When I click within the formula bar, you can see that it shows you in the cell what that formula is. While that might not be so important right now, it definitely will be later. I can do the same thing here. I can do equals 13 divided by 3, and Excel does that calculation for you. Now let's go back to this data set. I'm just going to erase these. Maybe something I'm interested in is finding the average of this data set. And if you remember, to find the average, you need to sum all of your values together and divide it by the count of those numbers. And so that's what we're going to do. So first we're going to find the sum. And how I can do that, I can do equals. And I could just do 7 plus 0.5 plus 10.1 plus 8.3 plus 9.8 plus 5.7 plus 10.3 plus 9.2 plus 8.7. There is nothing wrong with that at all. But Excel makes it even easier for you. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a sum. I'm going to do an equal sign because I still want Excel to do something for me. But instead of me just typing each of those numbers individually, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click on the cell. And so you notice my formula now says equals B2, equals the contents in B2. And then I want to add that to the contents of B3, plus the contents of B4, so on and so forth. Once I am done with that formula, I'm going to click enter, and I get the same exact value. And using this by clicking on the cells is a whole lot faster than typing those numbers in one by one. This type of referencing, this is called cell referencing. In my formula, I am referencing a cell. I'm not typing in a number, I'm using a cell reference. What's nice about this is, let's say I go back to my original data, maybe I wrote this in a notebook and I realized, oh no, I made a mistake. this 10.3, I misread that. This was 11.3. So I'm going to update it in my table. And look, this formula updated. Because remember, this formula is just saying, hey, add the contents of those cells together. When I change those cells, it changes my formula. In this one, I would have to go back and find, okay, here's the 10.3. Let me erase that. I update it. It takes a little bit extra time. For something as small as this, maybe it's not that much more time, but if you have a whole bunch of data, it might start mattering more. The count, I know I have 8 plants, and then if I want to find the mean, remember that is equals. I want it to do something for me. I need to take the sum, so I'm just going to use a cell reference. I clicked on cell E5, and I'm going to divide it by, and I could write 8. I could have also done equals that cell divided by this cell. And again, by using cell references, it makes things faster for you because if something changes, if this 7.5 was supposed to be 17.5, if there wasn't 8 data points, but there was 7 data points, everything updates for you so that you don't have to keep going back and doing this manually. And again, at any point, you can click back and be like, okay, this cell is actually saying equals E5 divided by 8. It's not 10.075 typed in here. One last thing just to show you is that when you're doing things like this, if you are clicked on a cell, and we know the formula is equals E5 divided by 8, if you click the button F2, 1, it shows you what the formula is in that cell, but 2, it color codes all of the cells that are used in that formula. If I do the same thing with the sum, I'm going to click F2. It types out the entire formula for me and then color codes those cells so I can see what is being used in this formula. Sometimes that's helpful, especially if you want to double check to make sure you did it correctly. So again, Excel is a calculator. Excel does basic arithmetic for you. So again, using an equal sign, 1 plus 1 plus 3. Okay, I could do equal sign, 18 divided by 2. I could do equals 78 times 91. Excel does all this for you. It works similar to a calculator, and it also uses mathematical rules in the sense that multiplication comes first and it follows the order of operations. So if you want to do 2 plus 3 times 4, you're getting 14 because it did the multiplication first and then addition. But if you wanted it to do 2 plus 3 first, just like in math, you put the parentheses around the 2 plus 3 because parentheses get done first. So now my value is 20 because Excel knows, okay, I do parentheses first, then multiplication. Excel can also do exponents, so equals 2, and then you use Shift 6, you get that little upwards caret to the third. So this is read as 2 raised to the 3. So in this case, it's 8. So everything you can do in your calculator, you can also do in Excel. So that's where we're going to end. The formulas can definitely get a lot more complicated, but that's just the basics of how to use these basic mathematical symbols in order to use Excel as a calculator.